Hello my drakes and dragons, and welcome to my first attack for Artfight. I decided to add a little voiceover, similar to my previous video, to this nice project to add a little bit more flair to the nitty-gritty details past just some music. My first attack is directed at the artist Killer Tunes and their very demure Professor Dexter S. Squiggleworm. And for the first and most pressing question, why a chandelier? Why not? And in all honesty, I decided to do a chandelier kind of on just like a whim. Like, my original idea was to have Mr. Squiggle like wrapped around the central bar, but I very quickly realized I wouldn't be able to do that without either channeling my inner Eminem or making Professor D much bigger. Anyway, my next idea was to have him sort of like looking down over the crowd or void below, as I picture him doing either a research reconnaissance, try saying that 5 times fast, or just, introvert panic. I really like the idea of his head fitting as the chain, or like fitting in the chain, and becoming a rapper, but I couldn't figure out how to make that work, so I then considered actually doing an animation where he slithers down the chain and ends with him like looking off, combining the two ideas. But as this already took me like 5 days and I've already made like 2 animations ever, I decided to take the easy route and to focus on just the chandelier part. And since I got the globes on the first try, I pretty much just lassoed and mirrored one side to the other with making some minor tweaking to make it, make sense. Well, at least to me. Shush. And the next big challenge was the colors, which I had no idea how to do with not only 6 light sources and metal rods, so I decided to move the lights instead and go from there. But as I've never done lights before in my life, I prefer the darkness that matches my soul. AKA, it's easier to draw. Anyways, I touched up my first try with some more mellow lighting. I wanted to go for like a more whimsical one, like fireflies in the forest almost. But I realized I kind of sucked at it, so I channeled that rage into making oranges orange. And the fruit, not the vegetable. Ew. In all seriousness, no, I'm happy with it turned out. I really like how I'm slowly figuring out the shading in digital, because I'm pretty good at traditional, you liberal, but not digital, so the transfer process has been interesting. Anyway, I did the same lasso and mirror trick with some minor tweaks for the other side. Work smarter, not hard. Anyways, after all this time and effort in the chandelier, I realized I still had no clue where I wanted Professor Squiggle, and I found it a bit comical that after 2 days of drawing almost, I still hadn't drawn the main character of the attack. So I did a quick sketch and started theorizing where I could put him, and I also liked how the sketch turned out, so I got a little distracted shading him. A little glowy guy. Next thing was the glow effect, which I struggled heavily on until I randomly came across a brush that I liked the vibe of, and stuck with that after much suffering. And as the glow of the poorly drawn 2-dimensional light washed over me, I had the perfect epiphany of where I wanted the professor to be, except I didn't jump out of a bathtub and scream Eureka naked through the streets. The professor is staring up at one of the lights, fascinated and appreciating how simple and beautiful the light was, finding joy in the small light so close to his own. The simple things, like soda. This drive helped push me past the painful reality of shading metal with 6 different light sources as previously mentioned. Hell. I started with the changes, I took those to be the simplest, and then through much trial and error stumbled my way through the rest ignoring various, tutorial I looked up that might have helped me but took actual effort to do, and, all in all though, I think it turned out pretty fair. Minus perhaps the bottom of the chandelier because egg rolls. That doesn't make any sense, but it's the first thing that popped in my head. Thankfully I did fix that up towards the end, and although this could have been better, I think it's not too shabby for a guy who's drawn only dragons all the time. I considered going with a kind of looking through the brush kind of vibe for the background, and I think I could have pulled it off, because, I'm him. But one of many hymns, so that's kind of the issue. But there was also something that irked me the wrong way about it. Maybe it was just like the brush and how kind of easy it was. So you'll see me change that later. And for the favorite part was drawing the little guy. And really realizing, of course, after finishing most of the coloring that there was supposed to be tiny details in the jacket, which I did do, but yeah. And I know there's a very quick and easy shading trick that involves filters and layers and making, shading a breeze. And I'm not talking about Febreze, of course. I'm gonna cut out that last part. But I didn't feel like looking up a tutorial, so I instead spray painted his nose orange. I might have gotten his glasses a bit too. Does that rub off? No? The rest of the video is adding some tiny details and then changing the background, like I mentioned earlier, to a more swirly-durly style. Also, I changed the liner for the globes and the bars, so it's a bit easier on the eyes, so to speak, like Mr. Wormy himself. And I think that's about it. I hope you like it, and may you all have a bountiful day. Expect another one of these very soon.